as I showed you last week, there was damage to the bottom of the drawers where the sides were worn out and dragging, and you can see here where it drug as it went in and out. Now there's a good 1/4 of an inch clearance. This one had powder post beetle damage under, and this was somebody's idea of a repair nailed on. I've replaced the tracks inside. You'll also see that the drawers were originally numbered, and we didn't know it until I started taking it apart. You got 4 here and a 4 here, and 5, etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're numbered, and someone has switched this one for that one, and you can see this one was on the other side when it was near a window with no UV protection. So you can see right here shows you the difference when you don't have UV protection on a window. And if you don't have UV protection, then move the piece of furniture. Move everything.
Yeah, rotate it.
Rotate it around, and you don't leave anything sitting on top for long periods of time. Some museums for a long time they would come through and they would just dust and leave stuff sitting there. And then they go to move it and they would have spots where everything was at.
We've got 90 plus filters on the house.
Now, I've got all new tracks inside here. And then I found a broken spot here where you can see where the lock plunger comes up, and it had ripped out here, and I've got it patched back in place, ready to color. Okay, now don't you trip yourself. Now I've started cutting the dovetails. This is the drawer side. I showed you the pine in the last video that I was cutting up out of a beam to make the drawer sides. This is what it looks like finished up. Here I'm cutting the pins on the front of the drawer. You want me to cut one?
Sure.
Dovetails were cut with the hand back saw, and then cut out the same way I'm cutting these out. The drawers are a little strange because they don't have a half pin on the bottom, but that was the way the original builder built them. So I learned a long time ago, when you're restoring a piece of furniture, you have to work at the exact same level as the man who built the piece. Because if you try to get fancier with your work, then your restoration shows. And if you can't do as well as he did, then your restoration shows again. Which is what happened with those drawers where the guy nailed the bottoms on. He couldn't work at the level of the man who built the piece. You'll also notice hand plane marks. They're not visible, but you can feel them. So everything was done with hand tools after the machine, after I did everything to remove any machine marks that might have been left on the piece. Now, once you have the full set of tails cut, or pins cut, and a full set of tails, let's see. Dave? Oh, maybe I can.
Need me to hold it this side?
and it'll still get pulled down a little bit tighter. But you can see what happens when you cut hand dovetail properly. All right, this is an original lock out of the piece. And I found locks to made up very close to identical to the original locks to put in the drawers I'm built in replacing. That one is an exact match. And I also, lucky enough, I keyed there we go. I key to fit the lock. So once the keyholes are in the drawer and this is put in from the back side, it will mate up a lot nicer when you open the drawer and they see an original, what looks to be an original lock from the original piece. Last week I spoke about the nails, but we didn't have one out from the base. Now, there is a difference in the heads on a factory made nail and a blacksmith made or a nail maker's nail. This one is struck 3 times with a ball bean hammer and it's also struck with a point, and this one is blunt on the ends. This is the type of nail that's throughout the base, and this is the type of nail that's throughout the top. Last week I showed you a keyhole I made. Now you can see how close they are to the original. I will have to clean these a little, and I will darken these a little so that the keyholes show up, but they don't need to look bright and shiny.